Okay, hi everyone. Call the meeting to order at 11:12 p.m. Sorry, 1:12 p.m. Start off with a territorial acknowledgement. Respectfully acknowledge that the Sfss is located on the traditional unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Coquitlam, and Katsu nations. Unceded means that these territories have never been handed over, sold, or given up by these nations, and we are currently situated on occupied territories. I also like to announce that today is International Women's Day, and normally the Sfss is closed down, but that's why we're recording today. We don't have any staff with us. Start with roll call of attendance. When I call on your position, please give your name, access needs, pronoun, and access needs. Access needs are anything that you need to allow you to either will impact your ability to fully engage with the meeting, or to allow you to more fully engage. That could be anything from, unstable internet, noisy background, or if you need somebody to speak up or speak more plainly, or any other matters, or if you have to leave early, etc. So I'll start with myself, acting president. I'm the chair of the executive committee. My name is Corbett. Pronouns are he, him, his, and access needs are met. VP Events and Student Affairs, Vice Chair.
My name is Jessica. Pronouns are she, hers, and all my access needs are met.
Thank you. VP External and Community Affairs.
Hi, this is Matt. My pronouns are he, him, his. My accessibility needs. I'm gonna keep my camera off. I'm kind of low energy today.
Okay, thank you. VP Equity and Sustainability. Marie said that she would be late, so when she comes in, we'll have her do her rounds. VP Finance and Services.
Hi everyone, my name is Almas. Pronouns she, her, hers. All my access needs are met. Thank you.
Thank you. Acting VP Internal and Organizational Development.
Hi, my name is Chloe. My pronouns are she, her. For my access needs, my tracker pad's a bit like glitchy, so my mouse isn't working that well, so I might have to just use like the touch screen feature. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. VP University and Academic Affairs.
Hey everyone, my name is Serena. Pronouns they, she. In terms of the access needs, I have a hard stop at 4, so I'll be leaving then. But otherwise, all my access needs are met.
Okay, thank you. No society staff are here today, so we'll move into consent agenda. 4.1. Be it resolved to adopt the consent agenda by unanimous consent. Items in consent agenda are matters rising from the minutes for review and approval of the February 22nd, 2022 meeting. Do I have any objections to this item in the consent agenda? Seeing none, that passes unanimously. We'll move on to item 5, adoption of the agenda. Motion reads, be it resolved to adopt the agenda as presented. Do I have a mover?
Jess.
Do I have a seconder?
Chloe.
Okay. Thank you, Chloe. Discussion. Do I have any people would like to make amendments to the agenda? Please list yourself. If anyone can add the agenda to the chat for Gabe, that would be helpful. I can't seem to do it, just doesn't give me the option. I would like to list myself because I'd like to add, just double checking on something, make sure it's not already in here. Yeah, I would like us to add a discussion on effectively exec transition progress or updates. Okay. Any other people would like to add? Chloe, go ahead.
Can I add a discussion item on shortening council meetings to 3 hours?
Sure. Just type that in the chat for staff later when they're watching the recording. I'd also, let's see, I'm thinking. No, I'm fine for everything else. Any other people want to list or add, make any changes to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to a, thank you. Okay, thank you, Chloe. Yeah, we'll move into a, sorry, 1 second. Oh, so we'll move these batches in one chunk. So I'll move it. Do I have a seconder?
Jess?
Okay, moving to discussion. Any discussion on these items, these amendments? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote on the amendments. All in favor seeking unanimous consent. If you'd like to abstain or dissent, please use the raise hand feature in Zoom, and I'll call on you to record your vote. That carries. Now we'll move back to the main motion of the approving the agenda as amended. We'll go another quick round discussion. Is there any items that people want to add or change? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor seeking unanimous consent. If you'd like to abstain or dissent, please use the raise hand feature in Zoom, and I'll call on you to record your vote. Okay, that passes unanimously, or carries unanimously. Thank you. We'll move into sorry, just catching up. 7 reports from committees. 7.1 report from executive. Report from staff. So executive is each individual person give an update on what they've been working on since the last meeting, what they've completed, what they're having challenges with, or any other matters that's relevant. I can start with myself. Last week I spent part of it on an LOA. It wasn't really much of a break because there was stuff I had to physically do, like sign some checks and such, but there was always, almost every day, something I had to work on. So theoretically, I was supposed to take Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and then ultimately Friday off. But other than basically Thursday was the only day I actually was fully able to completely unwind. And Friday ended up having just pretty much worked most of the day. I just had the morning off really. So I effectively, I just canceled a number of meetings, but still had to do at least 3 or so hours of work each day. And so I'm now back, but I'm really behind on, I have to do a lot of catch up and organizing myself. So that's my plan for today is other than meeting with a few people to go over what they're working on, to basically get myself started out for this week so I can actually tackle stuff in a more systematic way. Jess, would you like to go next as vice chair?
Yeah. For the past few weeks, I've been working with our building staff to be kept up to date with the tabling bookings and room bookings, both for individual study spaces as well as event spaces. I'm working on Person of the Year awards. I tabled the other day to help hand out masks and hand sanitizers, and it was kind of like an Ask the Sfss Has Anything. Some of us attended the President Awards dinner for Healthy Campus Community because we won that and we weren't able to announce that at the last council meeting. So good on us for doing that. I was helping sort out club issues, checking in with our events coordinator, Dipti. I met with SER and MEX the other day, and also folks from Aon. So that's all.
Okay, thank you, Jess. Matt, would you like to go next, please?
Yeah, I can go next. It's kind of been a little bit of everything. I've been doing a lot of like background HR work, just coordinating with staff, working on SOPs and trying to organize what the rest of my semester is going to look like. Also, I've been working, just kind of completing a couple outstanding projects like the activism project and trying to, there's a couple missing photos, so we're just trying to figure that out. But other than that, that's good to go. I think the building plaque is pretty much done. I think the order's been sent, so that should be going through. Coordinating with Ishana for onboarding, so that's been good. And then just moving forward, just kind of finalizing some stuff up in my portfolio, and then communicating with the external and community affairs committee for the last few months. That's it. Everything that I can think off the top of my head right now.
Okay, thank you, Matt, and thank you for taking on some of the HR type stuff while I was on LOA. I appreciate it. Almas, would you look at next, please?
So my major themes are again budget planning and also the Dean hiring committee. It's been so tiring. I feel like I've had multiple meetings, and even now I have a meeting on Friday. So like whenever we have an interview, it starts at like 10. We do an open forum, and then there's a couple of other things where they interact with undergrad students, and then it goes on till like 5 in the evening. Other than that, let me just see my calendar. I'm so sorry, I always forget stuff. Just 1 second. Open my calendar. I know we're supposed to work on the Sfss scholarship with Marie. Bulk keys, and her will be prepping this Wednesday, and then we're going to meet up with Sfvu on I think Thursday morning, if I'm not wrong. Just 1 second. Okay, I have it open in front of me now. I also have another meeting, which is the Excellence in Teaching Awards consultation. They're changing the policy, so they want some student rep there, and I will be going as the student rep. Also going to work on the furniture for Women's Center. It's been in the talks for a while, but they have some questions now, and they also want to review the budget for their furniture, so that's what we will be doing. Also for out on campus. And just give me 1 second, I'll go back to my last week. Oh my god, okay. Last week we had our usual, the council meeting, and we had our workshop, and yeah, that's pretty much it for the last 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you. Chloe, please go next.
So as you guys know, council elections are happening right now. So I've had a lot of individual counselors reach out to me and ask me questions on how to conduct their elections. So I've been sending them back the bylaws with explanations, kind of helping explain that to them. I've also met with outreach a couple times to work on the timeline for how we want to get that going before the end of the semester. So I followed up on getting the notice of motion out. I think Ilham's has been on, she's been off for a bit, so that's been kind of getting that notice of motion out has been a bit harder. And then I'm also working on a script right now for the training videos for counselors for the onboarding. So I'm hoping to record that tomorrow and then get that out to like have those that recording done so that any new counselors can just reference the slides and the recordings for their onboarding if they're not onboarded at the beginning of the fiscal year. And I've also been meeting with, I met with BD a couple times to discuss policies and what we want to do with governance committee. Governance committee's meeting next Tuesday. And I've also been working with Smaya about the committee trackers and updating all of the committees so that the mailing lists are correct.
Okay, Chloe. Thank you, Chloe. Serena?
Thank you, Corbett. Most of what I've been working on is like the accessibility assistant hiring committee, which is wrapping up, thankfully. Meeting with folks in, well, not folks currently, just Brianna is in the accessibility department about just like plans for the future and how she envisions like the assistant helping her and that kind of thing. What else? I'm just looking through my calendar. A lot of admin stuff, like I cleaned out my inbox and am planning for this month and next month of like how to get all this admin stuff done, of like between like SOPs and like the exit report and the committee reports, and there's something else I'm missing there too, but just trying to like plan that out on my calendar so I don't miss anything and so that April isn't hell. Other than that, like some Senate stuff. I went to training on Friday, which was pretty good, and had the tuition waiver meeting today as well, and then also working on issues policy for equitable and accessible events, and helping folks with the accessible course practices. I kind of put together a response to the response that they received from Sfvu to the joint letter that they made with TSSU and Sfvu, I think. Yeah, so just helping them out too, like providing suggestions and that kind of thing. But I think that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. That's everyone. Just got an update from Marie. She's still going to be delayed, so she'll let us know when she can attend. Let's move on to reports from staff, which is not here, obviously, so that doesn't make sense. So we'll skip that. So moving on to item 8.1, report on motions passed between meetings by email. So we had two items, 8.1, 8.2. The 8.1 is Sfss, Cambrian Arts and Education, Building Futures of Care, Police-Free Campuses. This motion was passed related to paying for a $1,800 for a workshop that I believe was held on last Friday. If anyone attended, feel free to give kind of any of your thoughts on how the thing went. And also we had for 8.2 sub-room bookables for immune-compromised students and students with incompromised kin. My apologies if I mispronounced that. Submitted by Matt, and it's effectively passed or approves the executive committee approves spending up to $800 from land from PB Finance Services for 2 air purifiers to be used in the sub-bookable rooms for immune-compromised students and students with immune-compromised kin. And that we dedicate 1,337 and 1,339 as rooms for these members, and that we should we should consult with Sfvu DNA around any changes to these rooms. And that these rooms, sorry, I'm just going to read this out. Be further resolved that the sub-bookable 1337, 1239 rooms for immune-compromised students in immune-compromised kin are discontinued at any point that the 2 air purifiers in question become the sole property of Sfvu DNA. Okay. Those are 2 items. Was there any comments on item 8.1 for people who attended the workshop? Okay, we'll move on to item 11. Wait, sorry, I also remember submitting there's semi-fun, it's after the fact, okay. Discussion items 11. 11.1, in residential school survivor and kin tuition waiver. So most of these items were carried over from the previous exec committee meeting because we ran long. So we're kind of revisiting a number of these items. Some might be, well past due, so to speak. So Matt, would you like to talk about this item?
Yeah, I can go. Pretty much, I've just been working on a project to start like around a campaign, or either just trying to come up with like some advocacy points to hopefully push a university, and then hopefully in the future, like post-secondary like institutions to waive tuition for Indigenous students who either, because we have like mature Indigenous students who have attended residential school and they may be coming back to post-secondary, or students whose parents or grandparents or family members have attended residential school to have their tuition waived, in trying to, create less barriers for Indigenous students to attend post-secondary as well. So that's something that I've been kind of working on.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Go ahead, Gabe.
Thanks, Corbett. Oh, I'm sorry, you're getting a really horrible angle of me, but thanks, Matt, for bringing this up. And I know you and I have talked about this like one-on-one, like personally off the record, but I just wanted to say it out loud for everyone that if there's any way that I can help, like in my capacity as a senator, please let me know, because I think that although something like this wouldn't be within Senate's jurisdiction, Senate can still make a recommendation to the Board of Governors to pass something like this. And a Senate recommendation in and of itself is really powerful and could be like a first step in getting something like this forward. And so if you need my help with it in any way, please let me know, because even after you and I started we're chatting about that the other day, Matt, I kind of was like thinking about like, how would something like this go over like in Senate? And I think that like after seeing like the Black Faculty Cluster Hire Program pass through Senate, I think it's like honestly a pretty feasible thing that can be done through Senate, and would likely be like senators would be really receptive of it.
Thank you, Gabe. Any other questions or comments for Matt, or on the discussion item, rather? Go ahead, Serena.
I can just provide an update on the meeting that happened today, if it's of interest to folks. So basically it was Tracy, Mason, Innes, Aaron, Alea, Tom, and Jessica. And so basically where the university currently stands is that they were originally exploring tuition waivers for students who are from the host nation, so the stolen lands that Sfvu occupies, but they realized that they don't have enough data regarding which Indigenous students are from which nations. So then they decided to consider research into providing a tuition waiver for all Indigenous students instead, because they just thought it would be easier, and they don't want to like police like who's from where and that kind of thing. So that's currently, they've like written like an exploratory report was their direct quote, and they've provided it to Catherine Doverne, who's the VP academic, and they said an executive decision would be made to whether or not to explore this further. And then I asked, is there a timeline? When should we like expect the executives to come to a decision on this? And they didn't have an answer. And then I asked, well, if it has to do with the tuition, then it would likely have to go to the Board of Governors. So then would the executive make the recommendation to send it to BOG, or would someone have to write their own motion and then rely on a student essentially? And I didn't get an answer on that either. What else? In terms of other questions I asked, they didn't really have many answers for me, honestly. So I think it's best if we just check in with them regularly, and then maybe ask for a meeting with, Catherine Deverne's meetings are like 2 months out too. So maybe it's too late to meet with her, but maybe start like an email thread with her to ask her like where her thoughts are currently on it, if she's willing to provide that to us just to get an update, and then keep in contact with Tom and Jessica, who are the leads on this project.
Great, thank you, Serena. Any other comments on this item, or what what Serena talks about? Okay, move on to the next item. 11.2 PHO guideline updates, also submitted by Matt. Matt, would you like to go ahead, or Jess?
Yeah, I can talk about it. I think we're all aware that PHO has been changing. So just like as an update, I think this was intended for like the last meeting. So I think everyone's kind of caught up for the most part, but there is something happening on Thursday. So maybe I can bring an update after Thursday's announcement from what I've heard, because I've just been seeing that other provinces have been lifting like all restrictions, and it's been kind of like worrisome, and we've noticed that, and I feel as though BC may follow suit, even though like, there's still like the mask mandate in as of right now, but that might change. So we're going to have to kind of go through like, what does that look like for us? What does that look like for like the sub, and just kind of be on top of that. So I'll definitely bring something after, if there is an announcement on Thursday.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and we'll have to figure out how that will impact or what changes we might or might not have to make for the sub, and also our like embedding guidelines and things like that. Okay. And okay, any other comments or questions on this item? Okay, moving on to 11.3, donations from referendum questions, and at least the whole election. So that's submitted by myself. So this was related to discussion we had in ahead of time, both in exec and at council, around following what AMS did as a voting incentive to I think they're going to spend $2 for every vote cast, a unique vote casted, or for every student voted, rather, not votes casted. And they donated it to a organization, or like an international organization that helps get vaccines out to people. There was interest on both council and exec side. My responsibility was supposed to figure out kind of how that worked, how much money and such. Unfortunately, I did not get it out in time before the election to be able to announce it. So we have kind of a couple options available still. Is we could donate either way, just do it anyways. After the fact, taking all the exact number of votes and just donating, or we don't, and we recommend this practice happen for the next election, or we do both. I know I talked to execs and stuff, and I think Matt, you submitted a really good group to donate to, and what we could decide on is financially how much we can donate, either with leftover from IAC or anything like that, or other areas in the budget if we have it. So Chloe said in chat, I'm in favor of doing both. Do we have any other people want to speak up about this? Please just list yourself. Okay, because we just have to so yeah, in chat is I'm in favor of doing both is great. I think the Kent Society was a good one that Alma suggested. Okay, yep, we can also, if we're say, because we had, so I don't know the total number of votes is around 2,000 or so, a little over 2,000. We can get the full amount from BD, I believe, and kind of figure out how much that costs. If it's under 5,000, if we say that $2 per student or per student voted, then that'd be probably under $5,000. Which exec capacity, if it's over that, then we take it to council for the next meeting. But the next council meeting will be next. So we can either do if it's under 5,000 or more. It probably makes sense to bring it at the council March 9th, 16th meeting. Okay, any comments on this? I don't have the exact number in my in front of me, Thomas. I know, like, just looking at yes and no votes, it was around 2,000 or a little bit over 2,000. But that doesn't necessarily count uniques in the sense of, like, some people that maybe they what's the word? Maybe they abstain from some votes but not others. So we'd need to get the exact unique number from Almas. Sorry, from BD. Okay, any other questions? Not, then we'll move on to 11.4. Sfs response to Sfvu's 2020/2023, sorry, 2022/2023 budget. So about myself, this was for the last meeting because we had received the budget from the preliminary budget from Sfvu. We needed to respond to it by March 2nd, I believe, or March 3rd. And we missed that because I think that ended up being a rough week. So I know we didn't get a chance to talk about it directly ourselves about how we wanted to look at and what we want to comment on the budget, so we might have missed it. Missed the opportunities from a private one where we send Sfvu. We can still analyze and release our own thoughts on it to students, but like unless there was something else behind the scenes, like not behind the scenes, but I mean like someone else is working on it, staff or in the execs. Yeah, not sure. But honestly, it's our main argument's always been that them giving us 1 week is not good enough. So my perspective is, even if we miss it, it's not necessarily a bad thing because it kind of still fits in the point of like 1 week is never enough time to be effective on this. So maybe we can take more time on it, or have some people start working on it and working over the summer to get like more of a detail, or start requesting more detailed documents over past years and kind of doing more in the full analysis. Any thoughts on this? Yeah, we missed it, Jess. At least from their submission deadline. We missed their submission deadline. We could try to request one, yeah. Any other comments? Now we'll move to 11.5, Sfvu election referendum next steps. So to remind myself. So again, this was supposed to be for the previous 2 weeks ago, but generally, we had the election results occurred. Now we're from an election side of things, we have started the executive transition that happened on the first joint meeting was on February 25th, I believe, that Friday reading break, where there was pretty much an all-day session around giving all the new incoming execs, basically like a one-day orientation of governance, sorry, my brain, governance, not financial planning, our employer responsibilities, collective agreements, union stuff, all that kind of thing. And then we also are now doing one-on-ones, and there's been some pre-scheduled or some days to hold for like another joint kind of exec team coffee chat thing, more casual, and then more one-on-ones, and then I think we'll ultimately do a handover. That's the current plan, probably in late March or early April, to talk about what's the word? Talk about projects that are being handed over or that are on the go, and projects we recommend they start or complete. As for the referenda, so out of the 5 questions, so there was 4 binding questions, 1 non-binding question. The non-binding question, the non-binding question related to direction for projects. So now that the sub and stadium are finished and being paid for and stuff, what's the next? What is there any major projects that the Sfvu should look into? And so when I drafted this, it was a subsidized student housing project, a Surrey sub, both or neither. And it was whatever got the most votes would be give the most direction, and the both option was most voted for. And so that's some basic direction we can get from students around potentially researching another project. So that's good. It means at least students right now think there's some value in both projects. So I'm going to reach out to, before I finish this term, I want to reach out to Paul Finch from BCGEU, because they are working actually on a project in Burnaby that's basically both combines housing and with some subsidized or affordable housing combined with an office system. They have basically 2 towers and then an office system wrapping around, office building wrapped around those towers. So it's an interesting idea. We might be able to, I want to learn more about costs for that project, where it's savings, where it's been, where student savings happen, not students, sorry, where savings in the project could be happened, or if it's better to go separate. Because if you want to do like a student housing project, it'd probably be, most spots would be in Burnaby, like maybe taking over one of the projects in the for residence plan that's not actually been started yet, because either they're looking for investments or whatnot, or investors. And we have like Surrey sub separately, or we do housing in Surrey and in both housing and Surrey sub together, maybe. Either way, the whole point of this project, the idea is for research over the next year or so. So this will definitely be something hand off to you with some initial ideas, and having people explore that. The other items were kind of split 50-50 and success fail. Two of them that failed were related, both of them that related to the health and dental plan. They soundly were defeated. Like I think it was almost like 2/3 no vote. And so one of the questions was to raise the annual fee by $30 instead of 40 or 39, and also asking for council's power to renew to adjust it. Both were no votes. It's fine. We still have at least a year plus of reserves to be able to cover that. But we need to meet, next steps for this would be meeting up with student care to tell them the results. They probably already know, but just in case they don't. And some next steps. I've already talked to some of the incoming execs, and I think their goal idea is to go back to student care and say, okay, we need improvements and improved plans. So like with new benefits, whatever, and see what that costs, and then go back to students for that potentially. Because then at least the students can see that they're potentially paying more for more benefits. I don't know about the other item with like adjusting, if they'll want to try that again or not. It's up to next council and next exec. And then finally, we had the dedicated equity fees for DNA and SOCA that passed barely by like 31 votes. That's really tight and concerning. But they passed. And so they each will be getting $1 per term for full-time students, $0.50 per term for part-time students. That should generate around $65,000 a year. And then FNMISA's system passed, and it was bigger gap, but there was still more no votes than would be comfortable with. And they've doubled their fee from 75 cents to $1.50 now, so that will help them out a lot more. So their fee hasn't changed in 20 years. So for those two, the next steps, my perspective is that it's mostly with Almas and the finance departments. There's a meeting with them to help if they need help with developing their budget for next year. And if I'm possible, I'd like to be able to tend to help give advice and kind of going from there. So that's a lot report on my end, but there's 5 items for referendums. Any questions or comments or concerns or questions? Anyone want to be the one to reach out to student care to set up a meeting with them before? And ideally, that'd be good also to have some of our incoming people. Okay. Yeah, Judah, just want to be involved with those meetings. Makes sense. Yeah, we'll get into that when we get into discussion around exec transition progress updates. But, any questions? Nope. Okay. Move on to I 11.6, Executive Committee approval for employment updated sub safety protocols to be aware of? Submitted by Jess.
So I just wanted to give a few updates on the current status of tabling, rooms, and events. Meeting rooms were open to book starting on March 1st, and so those need 5 business days to our building coordinator, and Shelley manages that. So those are available for students to book and use. Also, it says that my internet connection is unstable, so please let me know if I cut out. So our boardroom also on level 4000 is also open for students to book. And initially and originally when the sub was built, that space was just for exec use only and for council meetings. But that was before the whole restructuring. So that space is now open to everyone. People can have food there for their little meetings, drawings, for an event, crafts, do whatever they want in there. Tabling also opened up to go book, and right now currently we have that was started to book on February 22nd, and we have 3 locations. One is at level 3000 by the main entrance of the sub. The second location is at the end of the hallway on level 3000 near the social stage, and then the third location is in the dining area. So that's tabling and booking. Currently, our building staff are working on guidelines for the dance rehearsal space. As for the ballroom, we're hoping to have that space open for students to book sometime April. The 2 music booths, as you know, because of the motion, is temporarily reserved for immunocompromised students or for students who live with immunocompromised family members. And at executive, I actually have an action item for you all. I forwarded an email to all of you to look through some documents that was sent by a clubs coordinator regarding locker usage for clubs and student unions. And because we don't have council meeting this week, we only have a dev session. I wanted to bring all of that to your attention first before we approve that as a collective via email. It's not an official motion. We're just making sure that it's fair and that it goes with our guidelines for clubs and student unions. And so the staff need that by the 11th. And so the deadline for the email is I put for the 10th, so we can have a day to just in case. So those are all the updates regarding the sub and bookings and all of that stuff.
Okay, thank you. Jess, would you be able to give this same presentation to council for the 16th? Like, even with some basic slides or some docs that they can look through, because just to get everyone on the same page and knowing what's open and what's not and what's still being worked on. Go ahead, Jess.
Yes, I can. And if you want me to make an actual presentation with slideshows, that's okay too. I can do that. And table bookings and room bookings have different processes. So for example, the tabling is using a jot form, whereas the room bookings can be done through the portal. So I can help students be aware of that during council for next week.
Great, I appreciate that. That was, yeah, awesome. Thank you. Any questions for Jess or any comments on this topic? I'll just give my own additional point. Yeah, I got originally it was going to be a motion. I got submitted through for next meeting about tasking exec or the council and exec to find appropriate storage space for student unions in the sub. And I asked the person if they would like to move that to a discussion so that we can give more information first before we make any kind of decision. They're fine with that. So I'm probably going to ask staff, or I was going to ask you just if there was any information on even just basic numbers on this, the types of what we have in the sub, just to show that we don't have like, you know, unlimited space. But actually, if they are working on the guidelines for that now, that's really great. Then we can, at least that can, people can understand that it's not just being left or forgotten about, or that it's, yeah. Go ahead, Jess.
Just a last note that there's currently a MOU, so a memorandum of understanding between SFSS and Sfvu. And under the umbrella of Sfvu, MEX is involved, other folks as well, other departments, not just MEX. And so that's for event guidelines, and that is what's currently happening between MSEs, building staff, exec are kept updated regarding those meetings. So that is why it's been taking a while, but we will get there.
Okay, thanks, Jess. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, we'll move into item 11.7. My item for exec transition progress update. So this one, I just wanted us to have a talk about, like, okay, what are we at, all of us individually, with the executive transition, the sit downs and plans and stuff. So for instance, like, as I mentioned earlier, we have had the first group training or transition meeting, where all the incoming ones, execs, got kind of like a one-day orientation. I have already had a sit down with Helen, the incoming president, for about 2 hours, or an hour and a half, 2 hours, and gave some initial stuff, but more detail around HR, how the different layers of exec, council exec, union excluded, union staff, and how that works. Additionally, we talked about kind of the day in the life of the president, organizing yourself, the challenges you'll face with the role, etc. And we're going to have some follow-up meetings throughout the next bit. My next goal is to start inviting Helen out to regularly scheduled meetings I have as president, so that they can start shadowing when they're available. And I think I've sent an email out to all execs to encourage you to do the same. And I just kind of want to know where everyone's at with their own handovers or their own transition training. Have you reached out, or have you scheduled some, or you already had some sit downs or submitted documents, or what? So I'm kind of curious how everyone's planning to handle their own, one-on-ones and such. Go ahead, Jess.
I've been having trouble to meet with my incoming. We haven't been able to find a time that works for us both and in regular staff working hours, so I can introduce them to the staff that I work with often. So because of that, I would like to initially just create a document of questions for the incoming to be answered and submitted to myself, and so we would have a basis of what to discuss. To go over, I let SCR and MEX know about the new incoming person, so they can be transitioned and have introduction meetings. And something that I need to do that's a good recommendation that you brought up was to invite them to regularly scheduled meetings. However, I think it'd be helpful if Ella could also send that as a calendar invite to like exec meetings, to council, to dev sessions, all of those things. And then obviously we can't discuss about any in-camera things with them just yet. But that's a good recommendation, Corbett, so thank you.
Makes a lot of sense, Jess. I'll ask Ella to do that. Thank you. I'm just kind of going to go down the list of people. Matt or Chloe, if you want to go next.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say that Corbett, you already know this, but we're gonna meet with Judith on Thursday morning. And my hope for that is just to kind of plan a schedule of like how we're gonna transfer everything throughout the rest of the semester before our term ends. And I'm also gonna invite Judith to all the committee meetings. But I think that might, I haven't had any committee meetings yet, so it might be a learning experience for both of us, but I think, yeah, that's kind of what I have planned so far.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, just, okay. Anyone else wants to volunteer? Let's go next. Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, so pretty much what I've been working on is with Ishana is just since the appointment of her becoming my associate vice president, I've been trying to schedule an hour every week just to kind of go through. I wanted to make that introductory meeting, so that will happen probably on my LOA. It'll be more informal, and then from there, just to kind of go over tasks, and then also tasking Ishana and Nim to kind of finish up some issues policy stuff together so that she has practice writing that, and then I can review and work with her as well, and that'll also kind of help delegate some stuff. I think I'll start making introductory meetings with community members just to do that outreach in the next couple weeks, and then also any projects, like any main meetings that I'm going to, she'll probably be shadowing me, and then also just to kind of go over like responsibilities and stuff like that of the role itself. And I'm making sure that my drive and everything else is really organized, just so that she kind of has an idea where everything is. And then also making templates of like briefing notes, templates of campaign, like how to outline a campaign and send it to comms. And then I'm going to go over with her on her platform, and then also projects that didn't get finished in my term, and kind of organize that in a yearly timeline. So like this is like if she ever kind of hits a roadblock, like, oh, like I don't know what to do next, then it's just like, oh, I can pick something off my annual plan to kind of follow up on, and it'll kind of be like, start with this, go from here. So like summer, fall, and then spring, like 3 main things for each semester, and then how to do that. So yeah, just kind of I've also been proactively putting calendar invites in as well. So there will be notifications coming up in her term around like just reminders and stuff that will come up, like certain events, like have the statement prepped by this day, request and I invited like John and Ella, so like certain things that happen in the sub. So making sure that like the banner is put up for Orange Shirt Day, and like the statement is prepped and passed, and like all this stuff throughout the year. So that's what I've currently been working on.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Thomas?
Sorry, what was the question again?
What progress have you made with executive transition? Now we're in kind of like the one-on-one meetings period.
Sounds good. So with Abby, whatever tasks that I do every single month, or let's say bi-weekly, which includes any payments, any payrolls that I go through and approve, things like sending out the executive work reports or the non-exec work reports where they're saved, and how to tally the hours, the council changes spreadsheet, and all that stuff. I have been making little videos, like I was telling the other day. So I'd say basically snippets, not exactly videos, and just sending it to him. I personally feel like SOPs might be a great way, but when I write an SOP and then I attach so many screenshots and I read it after that, it just like defeats the whole purpose of making it easy, because you're going through like 3 pages to do something which you can just like make in a 1.5 minute video. So that's what I've been doing lately. And then the next step is going over with them for things like the financial report and the AGM. So I feel like those are some things which can be done towards the very end, because even if he has my help, or basically I tell him what I did in my time, his AGM report will be completely different. And he's anyways involved in the process of budget planning because he's on fast. So I think that's one place where he sort of like already has an idea of what's going on. And because he's been with council for a long time, he doesn't have a lot of questions around running meetings and doing things like that. So I'd say I'm lucky in that case. I didn't have to go over Robert's rules or any of those workshops. So far it's been so good. He doesn't have any doubts when I send him anything. But I'll keep you updated if I need any help. And even in terms of staff members that he has to work with, it's only 2 people. So I don't think it's a big task unless he wants to meet others as well, which I can definitely ask him that if he just wants to meet the financial coordinators. I think he's already met Ella on the workshop the last Friday, I believe, or last Friday. And I think the only people left would be Aisha and John, which I can set up a meeting with. And that's about it. I've told him about any projects that I would like to transfer. We've had a talk about sustainability and feasibility of these projects. So that's one point where we have differing views, but I think we'll eventually sort it out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alice. Serena?
I don't have any updates currently. Just still setting up an introductory meeting.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to wait until I'll check in with Marie. On how she's doing. Any other questions or comments or concerns around this topic? Okay, none. So we'll move on to next item discussion submitted by Chloe. Shortening council meetings to 3 hours with 1 hour flex. Go ahead, Chloe.
Okay, so this was something that was talked about last night with Vivian from DNA, and Vivian sent me an email, but it was addressed to Corbett, so I think it was meant for me, but just the wrong name. I can send they sent me a doc to share with folks, so I'll just send that into the chat about like why shorter meetings are necessary, but I can kind of give a quick summary. So basically they're having a lot of trouble at DNA finding someone to take over the council position because of like the inaccessibility of the long meetings. And I know the purpose of like our 4 hour like scheduled is kind of already to have like our meetings are supposed to be 3 hours with just like a 1 hour flex time. So I don't know if you guys want to take a read, give the doc a read, but basically the main points was so like making a policy change to set the council meeting duration to a minimum of 3 hours and a maximum of 4 hours, shift all time sensitive agenda items to beginning of meetings if this is not already practiced, implement a faster voting method, example given when seeking unanimous consent, strictly enforce a maximum duration of 4 hours, and tabling non-time sensitive agenda items for future council meetings. Yeah, that's like the main points. Yeah, yeah, I just want to know what your guys' thoughts are on that.
Go ahead, Almas.
I think that's actually a very great motion, keeping in mind that our current council meetings have been like upwards of 4 hours all the time. Like the average is 5 hours, I believe, throughout the semester. I'm just scared that a lot of people would not be in support of this motion, because even if we follow the Roberts rule and keep like the speaking time 2 minutes per person and then only twice on a motion, we have quite a large council, and then when it's some sensitive motion, everybody wants to speak. So I think 3 hours might be a bit less, like although for the standard of a council meeting, it's perfect, but given the strength of our council, like the numbers, I think it's a little hard to maintain. So I think it's better off if we start like fixing to the 4 hour mark for now, or even if it's like 5, 4.5, 5, I'd still say it's a good meeting, because ever since the start of my term, I've always seen that there's been no council meeting that was finished before 9 p.m. Like I was seeing my work reports the other day and I saw that it's always 8:45, 9, and now we've started going towards the 10 mark. I think people have to like slowly start practicing it, because if we tell them, okay, just 3 hours, I'm pretty sure a lot of them would be upset about not being able to speak on what matters to them. So we probably need to start shortening it bit by bit. So let's say, okay, we won't go over 5 hours today, and then we won't go over 4.5 hours, and then 4 hours, and then slowly bring it down to 3 hours. But I love the idea, because I feel like this will make it a lot more accessible to the student membership who can't really sit there for 6 hours and watch the entire meeting. Like even though there are minutes, but some people find it more accessible to see the meeting. And I think right now, because of how long it goes, it's anyways not accessible. So we definitely need to decrease the time, but I think it would work best in a fashion where we start going half an hour, like we keep decreasing half an hour each meeting. And then I think by the end of the term, we would have come back to 3.5, 4 hour mark. Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, Chloe.
And so obviously we keep minutes, but do you think like at our next council meeting we can like keep a more detailed track of like what exactly is happening, like how much time is spent on like reading a motion, how much time is spent discussion, how much time is spent going through attendance, just so we can like have like an exact amount of like, so the numbers are there so we can see, oh, like what process can we make more efficient. I think like definitely when like motions don't pass unanimously, that obviously takes a lot of time. And I know we kind of have already looked at a couple ways to make that a bit faster, but like maybe start doing some research if there's like a better, like a digital way of voting that would be better or something like that, instead of going through roll call.
Thomas, do you still have your hand raised for reply, or?
I think I have the answer to that. So I was taking a look at our minutes, and I think a lot of the time goes in the discussion. So we take very less time for attendance. It's been the usual throughout the semester, reading the questions. I've seen that nowadays we have quite a lot of point of orders as well in our meetings, and a lot of clarifications for different council members. We did not have this before, I would say. Like in the first 2 terms, we did not have as many clarifications as we do now.
and that's probably because we have more vocal members on council now. Discussions is something that takes up a lot of time. People do not enforce the 2-minute rule. That's something I've noticed. And also we have multiple people speaking multiple times on the same motion. So I would say that discussion is what takes up most of the time. And also I've noted that earlier the unanimous voting was way more than it is now. So I think if we had like 5 motions on the floor in the previous council meetings, 4 of them would be like unanimous vote, and then we would just have discussion over 1. But now if we have 5 motions, I think there's just 1 or 2 that we unanimously agree on, and there's at least 3 of them where we're having intense discussions, like to the point where we spend 45 minutes to 50 minutes on that motion. The in-camera items have also increased, I've seen substantially, and the time we spend in camera is also quite a bit more than before. But if I like compare the previous in-camera times and now, there's not a big difference in the amount of time, but we just have more items of discussion for in-camera. And I haven't really noted a trend in the Q&A, so I can't speak about that. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I've already sent an email out. We're going to try practicing that and try to skip down, to shift down to get us closer to 3.5 hours or so, or 4. And yeah, I've been focusing more on what's been coming in, so we don't have to have as much items on things if not necessary. So we'll see how it goes. Also, as frustrating as it's been for the length of the time, also I think now that people have gone through lots of longer meetings, then they'll understand the need to go shorter. It kind of helps as opposed to just feeling like it's like an arbitrary rule. So, Chloe, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, like, maybe I think the sub-closure motions, like, those are definitely like outlier. Like, I think there are more exceptions of like for discussion times. But I remember like Matt was telling me this way back in the summer, but like doing briefing notes, you can kind of just be like, that was answered in the briefing note. And I think that could, like, if I don't know how we can like, because like obviously counselors can submit motions with as little or as much preparation as they want to have. Like, it's just how like they can submit it in any way they want, and then council can decide if it's enough information to pass or not. But I think that like if like I don't know if we can like make briefing notes not mandatory but like more standard for submitting a motion, and that could save a lot of discussion time.
Yeah, that might be a thing. Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to add that like for stuff that I've seen, it would have been good to have a briefing note just to prep folks on, and then going back to the point, like, you know, that was in the briefing note, and this is something that like, you know, it's the responsibility of counselors or something like that, if there's information provided, that we go over the necessary information so that we're able to make an informed vote. And I think that's something like, I think that should be a good practice. Like, if you have a substantial motion that you're bringing forward, then you should have a briefing note. You know, not just bringing something just because like you have, like, for example, like some like the motion that we had on the agenda for like around an event, you know, the event that was proposed, that should have had a briefing note talking about stats at the last one, talking about budget, talking about why they need it, and then including that proposal, not just bringing a motion saying you need this amount of money for like where it's allocated just because like you can. And I understand stuff is like short notice, but when stuff is short notice for us, like, I think also we should be standardizing like how we submit those briefing notes. And I think that's a really good way. And then if you know, they don't submit a briefing note with the motion, then it's like, well, like, you know, that's your due diligence to make sure people are informed, you know.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions on this topic? Go ahead, Jess.
Can you hear me okay?
A little bit, you're quiet, but I can hear you.
Oh, okay. The other thing is that a lot of the motions at hand, especially at last council meeting, could have been discussion items, or they could have had consultation with an executive first who has more background knowledge on what the topic is, or have had pre-consultation with the staff. And so I think there's, like, I don't even think we had a dev session on how to write a motion or like when to bring up a motion. And so the basic training skills are not there, but they also know that there's resources that has been recorded since the summer and the fall. And so I don't know, like it could have just been simply not been in the meeting. And we could give those reminders too, and like we could even offer help. Like if you don't know something prior to council on an idea and a topic, then talk to us. We're here to help you. We're here to explain things. We have worked many hours in the past, like 10 months. So that could be something that we can say.
Yeah, we can look into more. Yeah, we can. There's a couple things we can do, I think. Chloe, go ahead.
Oh, that was just showing my support for what Jess said.
Oh, sorry, it looked like stars, not pluses. Yeah. The challenge with us, like we could definitely put in like a policy as like a hard cutoff time or something, but that can also be abused. People that want to try to keep using the rules to like delay a discussion or whatever to prevent or you know, motion to prevent push things off the agenda effectively. Don't know if people will do it that way, but it's always a possibility with any kind of hard deadlines. Plus, like, because you know, sure, Robert's rules allows people to extend stuff, but we can put in policies that are effectively policies for how our meetings should be run. So it's more a matter of, you know, doing our best to keep on time. As chair, yeah, I can try to shrink things down and such, but I also find that there's a lot of stuff that's currently pretty important, or just because we don't have committees up running fully, that some of those items have to go to council now. Or just where, well, it's faster to go to council, or sooner to go to council as opposed to exec. Like for instance, what I mentioned earlier about the donations. If we want to get it done fast, the council is the next on the 16th is the first opportunity. If it's under 5,000, then we could delay it further and go to exec, you know, like in 2 weeks from now. So kind of like how it goes, one way or the other. Additionally, trying to find more stuff for consent agenda items that can just be passed relatively easily that way. That could definitely speed things up. You know, stuff like that as well. So, okay. Again, any more items on this? Any more discussion on this? If not, I'll move into the next. We'll move into item 12.1 in the camera. Chloe, go ahead.
Yeah, because I think I'm gonna start working on this, like making policy changes, hopefully, and like putting forward a notice of motion to change. So I really want to make sure that shortening the council meetings are something that we can achieve, like that's something that's feasible. So I kind of just want to get like a final consensus on like is that something that everyone would be in favor of? And like, do we think we have like logical ways of like actually making sure that that happens? Like, is it possible to do this?
Yeah, we can try.
Okay, perfect. I'll start working on it then.
Okay. Okay, I'm moving on to item 12.1 in camera. Be it resolved to go in camera for the remainder of the meeting. Do I have a mover?
Jess.
Sorry, was that Jess?
Yeah, Jess.
Okay, do I have a seconder?
Chloe.
Thank you, Chloe. Okay, discussion, don't think we need any. Moving to a vote. Seeking unanimous consent. Oh, sorry, all in favor of the seeking unanimous consent. If you'd like to abstain or dissent, please use the raise hand feature in Zoom, and I'll call on you to record your vote. That carries unanimously. I am moving into.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, we are back. I move that the executive committee go ex camera. Do I have a seconder?
Matt?
Thank you, Matt. Discussion, all in favor, seeking unanimous consent. If you'd like to abstain and dissent, please use the raise hand feature in Zoom, and I'll call on you to record your vote. That carries. We're now ex camera, and we'll move back into our agenda, which is adjournment. Be resolved to adjourn the meeting at 3 p.m. Do I have a mover?
Chloe.
Do I have a seconder?
Matt?
Go ahead. Thank you, Matt. Discussion? No? Okay, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, seeking unanimous consent. If you'd like to abstain or dissent, please use raise hand feature in Zoom, and I'll call you to record your vote. Okay, seeing none, that passes. Carries unanimously. Thank you all for coming, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. I hope you are able to take some time off today and enjoy International Women's Day. Thank you all.